New parliament, new controversy. 5 days ahead of the new Parliament of India being inaugurated, the government is facing heavy fire from the opposition. There is umbrage over the president not being invited to the inauguration. There is also opposition umbrage over the Prime Minister inaugurating the new Parliament and not the President of India. The Congress says the government has insulted the first citizen of the country, who is the head of Parliament. The Congress's Jairam Ramesh is calling it Prime Minister Modi's personal vanity project. Mallikarjun Kharge says the office of the president has been reduced to tokenism under the BJP-RSS government. The new parliament, as you know, has been built at a cost of 1,200 crore rupees. First, let's listen in to what the opposition is saying.
प्रधानमंत्री खुद करते हैं, ये राष्ट्रपति करना चाहिए। पहले फाउंडेशन करते वक्त भी वो उस वक्त के जो शेड्यूल कास्ट समाज से आए थे, दलित समाज से, उनको फाउंडेशन पे नहीं बुलाया। इस वक्त इस इनॉग्रेशन को भी वो शेड्यूल ट्राइब मुर्मा जी है और ये बोलते हैं हम शेड्यूल कास्ट शेड्यूल ट्राइब्स को इतना महत्व दिया। अरे जिस जगह महत्व देना है, उनकी गरिमा बढ़ाना है, उस जगह तुम उनको देते नहीं और बात के लिए, अपने वोटों के लिए ये बात कहकर दूर हो जाते।
Meanwhile, the Bhartiya Janta Party has called it the Congress's politicking. Amidst all this political drama, let me tell you, the inauguration's timing is also adding fuel to fire. The inauguration will be taking place on May 28th, which is around the time the National Democratic Alliance will be completing 9 years in power. Not just that, the inauguration will also coincide with the 140th birth anniversary of Hindu ideologue Veer Savarkar.
प्रॉब्लम ये है कि कैसे जो है वो प्रजातंत्र परिवार तंत्र को पछाड़ करके परवान चल रहा है। कैसे दुनिया कह रही है कि मोदी जी ने साबित कर दिया है कि डेमोक्रेसी जो है वो डिलीवर कर सकती है। ये इनको हजम नहीं हो रहा है। अब वो डायनेस्टी जो है आज जो है वो एकदम पूरी तरह से डिमोरलाइज है और इसलिए जो है वो आपको याद होगा सेंटर विस्ता की जब बात आई तो उस वक्त इन्होंने तमाम पार्लियामेंट के अंदर पार्लियामेंट के बाहर भी शोर मचाया कि कैसे हो सकता है ये तो जनता के पैसे का दुरुपयोग किया जा रहा है। ये तो जो है वो मोदी जी जो है वो कोविड के टाइम में जो जनता के सेहत और सलामती के लिए जो करना चाहिए था वो करने के बजाय सेंटर विस्ता का बन गया विस्ता। अब आप कह रहे हैं जी उद्घाटन किसको करना चाहिए। अरे भाई जो व्यवस्था है वो जी कौन उद्घाटन करेगा कौन नहीं करेगा वो हो जाएगा। आपको भी अगर जनता जो है कुछ 2, 4, 10, 20 सीटें इस बार देगी तो आप भी उसी नई पार्लियामेंट में बैठिएगा।
Let me go across for a quick chat to my guest this evening. Charu Pragya is representing the BJP on the show. Sujata Paul is spokesperson of the Congress party. For obvious reasons, Charu, I'm coming to you first. Can you please help me or give me one reason as to why the President of India should not be inaugurating India's new parliament and the Prime Minister should be doing it instead?
Shreya, tell me, isn't the Prime Minister also the leader of this country? And is there a rule book? Is there a guidebook which says that only the president can be involved in any such inaugurations? Let's go back in history a little bit. In 1987, when the Parliament Library was inaugurated, when its foundation stone was laid down also, it was Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi who did the honors, who cut the ribbon. That time nobody spoke up. Why is it now when Prime Minister Modi is doing infrastructure upgradations for the whole country, it's not like he is going to be the only person using the parliament. Congress has a problem with every single thing. Everybody knew the need of this parliament was very urgent, and yet Congress made a big hue and cry about it. Everybody knows that this is the high time before the next delimitation that the parliament needs to be in place, and yet the opposition will only talk of the opposite and not focus on what is needed. And the worst thing, I think the worst thing is when you cannot find any other constructive thing to talk about, you pick on petty issues like this.
So, Charu Pragya, what should we do with the constitution of this country?
Sorry?
Charu, what should we do with the constitution of this country? There's something I'm saying. What should we do with the constitution of this country? You are making the point that tell me where it is written that only the president of this country can inaugurate the parliament building and not the prime minister. You know, fortunately or unfortunately, Charu, we do have a constitution. And the constitution, there's an article, Article 76 in the constitution of our country that, you know this, right? That it tells us that what is parliament? Parliament is the president and two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, which means that the president of this country is the boss of parliament. Now, I'm not taking away from the fact, Charu, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has pushed for this parliament, for the new parliament to become a reality. A lot of money has been spent. People can debate whether it's money well spent or not, but we do know that it is because of the Prime Minister of this country that this new parliament has gotten made and has become a reality in such a short period of time. My simple question to you is, when the constitution of this country tells us that the president of this country is the first citizen of this country, then why can it not be the first citizen of this country who will inaugurate the people's parliament?
Okay, Shreya, fair enough. And I understand the president is the first citizen of this country, but the prime minister is also the head of the government of this country. And frankly, even on happy occasions, when you are obsessing about who is cutting the ribbon and what is happening, I actually honestly find it to be counterproductive, because here is a prime minister who's doing work and dedicating it to India, not like the previous prime ministers who come from the Nehru Gandhi dynasty, who've named like over hundreds of institutions just by themselves. I'm in Delhi. We have Indira Gandhi International Airport here. We have Sanjay 1 year. Tell me the logic of that. Now, none of this property is being awarded to themselves by name like what was done in the previous regimes. And I frankly think that when you want to pick at something successful and just wo Hindi mein kehte hain na tang adana, if that is all that you want to do, kindly have debates. But why don't we have better, more constructive conversations which talks about how the previous parliament building was a very old one, the seismic zone in Delhi has changed, we needed an upgradation, there are more MPs in parliament today, the office requirements have changed. Nobody is talking about all that. What is the conversation about? Small, silly, petty things, which is basically making the opposition feel like अंगूर खट्टे हैं.
हाँ भाई, सुजाता पॉल, अंगूर खट्टे हैं. You're being obstructionist. हर चीज में कांग्रेस टांग अड़ाती है. Such a small thing. So what if the prime minister is inaugurating the new parliament of India? So what if the president of this country has not been sent even an invite? कौन सी बहुत बड़ी बात हो गई?
Shamelessness personified. That is what the BJP is all about. Because look at the way they justify it. They have no answers to what you ask them, because the union executive consists of the president, the vice president, and the council of ministers, with the prime minister aiding and advising the president of India. And like my friend from the BJP just mentioned, that it is the prime minister who does so much. So that means, on the one hand, you are talking about dynastic politics, but you're indulging in a personality-based politics. And this country is not, it doesn't require a cult figure. You might have a cult figure for the Bhartiya Janta Party, but this country is a democracy, and the president who comes from the tribal community should be respected. The president is the first citizen of the country. And like the BJP knows, I'm sure they haven't forgotten that Mr. Ramnath Kovind, Honorable President then, was not invited for the foundation laying ceremony. So if the Prime Minister has done that, can't he let the president get some respect now? This is an insult to the president of India, because what they are calling petty politics is basically something that they do not know how to defend, because it is Mr. Narendra Modi who has inaugurated the Motera Stadium, now called the Narendra Modi Stadium, which only a dictator can do. For the BJP, it's fine because it believes in dictatorship. It believes in one man, one leader, one country, one leader, and so on and so forth. But this is a democracy, and we take strict offense to what you're doing and how you're undermining the position of the Honorable President of this country, who we want to show respect to, and that is why we are asking you to rethink what you're doing and not indulge in this megalomania and narcissism of the Prime Minister, which he's constantly been doing. Does he have to go inaugurate every train, everything in this country, whether it is related to finance, railways, health, everything has to be done by the Prime Minister, and that shows that these people either do not have any leaders, or they do not want anybody else to be there in this country as a leader, for they want to tell this country that it will be run according to the RSS philosophy of the same kind that was believed in by the fascists of Europe, of one country, one leader. We will not allow it. We will keep this country a democracy according to the Constitution of India. Learn to respect the president.
Charu. Charu, you wanted to come in. I could see you raising your hand. You wanted to respond to Sujata. Sujata ji, I can hear you. I'm not sure Charu can hear us.
No. Now I can.
Can you hear me, Charu? Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
So,
you had put up your hand. You wanted to respond to Sujata Paul. Go ahead.
I did. So I'm glad that at least Sujata is acknowledging that educational institutions, hospitals, parliament, even everything is getting inaugurated, but the kaam ho raha hai desh mein. So thank you. I'm glad a Congress leader acknowledges this fact. It's an important fact to acknowledge. We are very proud of the progress we are making, and this is greatly because of the push the government is giving. We can get into details and numbers of all of that. If Shreya has time, I'm very happy to do that. But let's remember one thing. When something good in this country happens, it's not always necessary for you to pick at petty points. And how do you know who has been invited, who's not been invited? Has there been an official tweet, Shreya, from the President House, from the Rashtrapati Bhavan, which says, hello, we are not invited? I think this is jumping the gun, and it is frankly very, very unfair. Should we not celebrate democracy today? Should we not wait for this parliament to be inaugurated? The ruling party and opposition alike. It's Sujata, maybe one day you'll be using this parliament too. Why aren't you happy that the newer generation will have a bigger space? It's going to speak of our heritage. It's a building we are greatly proud of. So
Charu.
Instead of I always come up with the muhavre when I am speaking to Congress. The story of Khisyani Billi Khamba Noche and nothing else, Shreya.
Okay, Charu, okay, that may be the point. Look, it's debatable whether we needed a new parliament, right? It's debatable if we needed to spend 1,200 crores on it. But the time for that debate is now gone. Fact is that, ek minute. Fact is, suno, Charu, everyone has a point of view. Listen to me. Sun lo. I'm saying,
You need to
see, everyone has a point of view on it.
The need of the hour.
Everyone has a point of view on it, right? I mean, many people can argue. You are very well traveled, and you know that across the world, across European capitals, you have parliaments that are housed in 400-year-old buildings. And our parliament wasn't even that old. It could have been expanded. Anyhow, that debate, as I said, is done and dusted. वो पैसा खर्च हो गया, ठीक है, वो बात अलग हो गई. My point is, there's something called constitutional propriety. And this is the second time that it is being pushed aside. What happened in 2019? The National War Memorial of this country had to be inaugurated. Who's the Supreme Commander of India's armed forces, Charu? It is the President of this country. Who inaugurated the National War Memorial? The Prime Minister. I give the Prime Minister credit for getting it built in record time. The demand for a National War Memorial by veterans in this country had been hanging for 30 years. Kuch clearness nahi aaya tha. Prime Minister Modi and the BJP government fast-tracked it, got it built. I salute him for that. But who's the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces of this country? The President. What was the auchitya or tuk of the Prime Minister going and inaugurating it?
We are talking about constitutional propriety, and that is what we are saying.
Ek minute.
when
that
the
is
foundation
that
stone
question
was
was for
laid.
Charu. Charu?
I don't think she can hear.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I don't think she can hear us. I don't think she can hear us, but that question was for Charu Pragya. If we can unfreeze her frame in just a bit. But this was a point that was Sujata Paul raised in 2019 as well. The other side of the argument can be the Prime Minister of this country has been elected by the people of this country. A majority of the people in this country have voted for Prime Minister Modi to lead this country. And if that is the will of the people, why make such a big issue of the Prime Minister inaugurating the Parliament of India, a building that represents India's democracy, electoral democracy?
Answer the question yourself. When you say that he's been elected by the people of this country might have elected him, but there are people who have not voted for him. So let's not get there. The point is there constitutional propriety in what is happening? Isn't this country a democracy, or do we have everything that has to be done, inaugurations of any kind, they have to be done by the Prime Minister? You saw what happened in the Karnataka elections. Their local leadership is completely gone in that state. Why? Because it is only about Mr. Modi for the BJP. That is fine. For the BJP, it should be Mr. Modi only, because that is what will bring them down. But when we talk about the parliament, or like you mentioned, the National War Memorial, let us understand that the constitution is supreme for this country. The constitution, the precedent, these are things which should be spoken of with great, they have great sanctity, and we should not speak about them lightly. We should respect our constitution, and the first citizen of this country should be respected. And especially when she's a woman, she's coming from the tribal community. Can you imagine the kind of honor she would have been given if she were to inaugurate parliament? I want to ask you, why was the puja done, at the your foundation laying ceremony for the Central Vista by the Prime Minister? Why was Shri Ramnath Kovindji not been invited? Why did he not why was he not allowed to do the puja? Why? Because he's a Dalit. Why? Because are these people against Dalits, against tribals? Is this tokenism that you've got a Dalit president? You had a Dalit president and presently a tribal president. But you do not want to give them the due respect. You do not want to set an example for the country that these.
Sujata, you made the point.
People from these.
You've made the point. You've made the point, Sujata. I'm out of time. I have a feeling that the opposition is moving towards a boycott of the inauguration of the new parliament. Let's see whether an invite is actually extended to the president or not. We'll just have to wait and see how this story pans out. But thank you very much, Sujata, for joining us. And thank you very much, Charu, for joining us as well. I would have liked to ask you some more questions. Unfortunately, the technical signal today was not really up to the mark. We'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much. I'll be back with you at the top of 9 with all the day's top stories. Do stay with us.
This is